Yo, what's happening, man? Sideline Storage, your boy Race with and we back. We back again, man. Hope everybody having a blessed and prosperous day thus far, man. It's Monday. I know everybody a little lagging from the weekend back to the work week, but it's been something on my mind. I just wanna get off real quick. I call this the Anthony Edwards conversation. And before I start, what I want to say is I reserve the right to be wrong in anything I say, but it's just something I just want to have some dialogue with real quick. So what I was thinking about was, are the Minnesota Timberwolves, are they on like this imaginary clock, if you will, with Anthony Edwards? Because it's like when you have this franchise altering talent within the organization, I feel like it's unfair for them to like want to really like win immediately, like immediately, like in the very near future, if you will, rather than like build it right, try to get the necessary pieces in play. But I feel like a lot of these franchises, they put themselves under the gun because of like you get this young talent and it's time to win out. Like look at the Mavericks. I feel like we in a position like we feel like we have to win now with Luka because you just never know. Like this isn't the era like back in the '90s where like you're gonna stick with your one team. Like all of these superstars had these long tenures with this one team. Like we're just gonna thug it out no matter what. We're gonna trust the process. Like the Reggie Millers, the Karl Malones, the John Stocktons, the Gary Paytons. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these guys, like the Dr. J's. Like a lot of these guys were with these teams for a long time. Some of them won, some of them didn't. But it's like they trust the front office, they trust the process. But nowadays it seems like a superstar staying with the franchise, it's not always for certain because like things move so fast. Like look at like Andrew Wiggins, number one overall pick, but we all knew he was gone. Um, Kevin Love, you would think he was a franchise talent, but like when LeBron goes back to Cleveland, everything you just start moving all of these pieces around. What's another player that you could? What's another good example of that? I can't think of one right now. Or like what, Porzingis. Even Porzingis went to the Knicks. The unicorn. You know what I'm saying? And now 4 teams later, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just those are just like few examples of stuff like that. You get these guys, you bring them in, and you hope they'll change the franchises. But like certain events may take place that may alter the future of your franchise. Like Donovan Mitchell, for instance, I feel like he's a franchise changing talent. He spent a few years in Utah, maybe like what was it, 5? And next thing you know, he's out of there. He's in Cleveland right now. And Danny Ainge, he blew everything up. Rudy Gobert was out of there. He's gone too. But what I want to get into, what I want to do with Anthony Edwards is I kind of want to like the player comp. I want to use Kevin Garnett. I want to use Kevin Garnett because that's the only player in the franchise history that's like that when you bring him in, it's like, okay, this is the guy. This is the guy definitively. Like KG was two-way. It's two-way player. One of the best power forwards that ever played. It's nothing to talk about. So what I want to do with KG is let's go through. I don't want to do the later tenure in Minnesota. He was out of his prime. Like we're not even talk about that. What I want to do is the first 11 years. So when he got there, they were pretty pedestrian, to be honest. That's an expansion team, 89, 1990. You know what I'm saying? So he got drafted. I want to say 94, 95, I believe it was. So when he came in, from a statistical standpoint, his biggest jump in his game was he went from 10.4 points a game to 17 points a game. That's a 7-point jump. So automatically from that, and that's year 1 to year 2. That's year 1 to year 2. So it's a 7-point jump. That's pretty dramatic, to be honest. That's great progress. And if you look at some of his early teammates, he had guys like Terrell Brandon from 19 no, I take that back. I want to start off I want to go earlier than that, actually. I want to use Stephon Marbury. He had Stephon Marbury from 1996 to 1998. Stephon Marbury averaged 15.78 assists. The next season, he averaged 17.8.6 assists, 1 steal, then he averaged 1.3 steals a game. Stephon Marbury ultimately won out. The story goes is he wanted to play in a bigger market and he wanted to have his own team rather than being like the co-star. the thing about it is, I don't know if Stephon Marbury was ever good to be the best player on the championship level team. Hindsight being 2020, I think him staying with Ticket probably would have been the best thing for you, because what Kevin Garnett is, certain players provide stability. Like Chris Paul, the moment you go into the franchise, meaning Chris Paul, it's stability. You went into he went to the Hornets. We already like post Baron Davis, like we already know like that's a struggling team, but it's like once you get Chris Paul in, it's instant stability. Like you can start getting the pieces like your catch and shoot players, you get your rim protectors, you get your post players, you get your spot up shooters, you get your wing defenders, because Chris Paul is going to lead the show. When you go to the Clippers, instant stability, because you got these young high flyers and DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. All you need to do is like get your catch and shoot guys like your JJ Redick, your Nick Youngs. You get your secondary ball handlers and your Darren Collisons and your Jamal Crawfords. You get your wing defenders and your Matt Barnes, stuff like that. And he gets traded to Houston. They already have stability to a certain degree, but they just can't get over the hump because it's guys like you got to play like it's the Warriors, and when you go to the Warriors, they end up coming up short, but you end up going to the Thunder. That's supposed to be a rebuilding situation. He ends up getting them to the playoffs in the bubble. That was a side quest. I'm sorry about that. But back to Stephon Marbury, I think when you would Ticket stability, because KG, like he was still coming into his own, but like at his final form, he is a leader. He's probably the best defensive power forward in the game. He actually won the MVP when he went to he won the Defensive Player of the Year award when he went to Boston Celtics. I believe that was 2008. And it's leadership. That's Ticket. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the best power forwards in my era. We're not even finna debate it. So it's like I feel like that's the best thing for him. But he ended up leaving because he wanted like a bigger role. He wanted to be in a bigger market. Expand his brand. Next, you got guys like Terrell Brandon. Now, Terrell Brandon actually is a very, very serviceable point guard. Actually made the All-Star team back in Cleveland. The thing with Terrell Brandon is once he got once his injuries really set in, it kind of derailed the course of his career. But he actually had some good years in Minnesota from 98 to 2002. His two best seasons were 17 points, 9 assists a game, 16 points, 7.5 assists a game, 71 games played, 78 games played. The next season, he ended up getting hurt. And I think the season after that, he wasn't in the league anymore. The reason I want to bring up guys like this is because I want to show over the course of his 11-year career, like the talent that they started to bring in. That's very important too, because you remember this Minnesota is a small market. For the most part, when you in places like that, you have to draft the best players that you get, like your Andrew Wiggins, like your Karl-Anthony Towns, like your Zach LaVines. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to. It doesn't like it's not a free agent destination. The only time we really saw players really wanting to go there was when Jimmy Butler went to Minnesota, and guys like Jeff T wanted to go. They still had Andrew Wiggins. They still had Karl-Anthony Towns. I did like that team, but other than that, though, you don't really hear about players really just like trying to get to Minnesota, like wholeheartedly. But I feel like early on in those early 2000s, the biggest obstacle was a tough Western Conference for KG. You had the Blazers, you had the Kings, you had the early Mavs, you had the championship Lakers. I feel like you may fall, you may come up short, especially like when you got to go against teams like that. But in the early 2000s, like a few years later, the franchise won 50 games 4 times. They won 50 games 4 times. They went 50 and 32 twice. They went 51 and 31, and they went 58 and 24. So what happened was they made the Western Conference Finals in 2004. That's the same year that KG won MVP. I believe it was the Western Conference Finals. They ended up falling short to the Lakers, and we know the Lakers went on to lose to the Pistons in the 4-1 in 2004. But the best help acquired during that time was a Sam Cassell, who was 34 years old, but he averaged 19 points, 7.3 assists. They had a 33-year-old Latrell Sprewell who averaged 16 points and 3 rebounds. I believe the next year after that, Sam Cassell, his points, it kind of dipped. It went from, no, not kind of dipped, it dipped very. It was 19 points. It went from 19 to 12 points a game. And Latrell Sprewell, we all know the story. Got a family to feed. If you know, you know. But I wanted to bring that up because, like I said, this is the talent that the franchise is bringing in. So with that team, you got guys like Wale Zerbiak, Michael Olowokandi. You had Latrell Sprewell. you had Sam Cassell, you had Troy Hudson, you had Trent Hassel. It was a lot of togetherness. They were well coached. That was actually a dope Minnesota team back in those mid 2000s. That was a very dope Minnesota team. Like I said, 58 and 24, KG won MVP. Like it don't get no better than that. But the problem was like they ended up coming up short. And a few years later, he was off to Boston. And the thing is, like, when you're in a small market like that, I feel like every every small market, it's like they have this window. It's like a very small window. But the problem is it's always a team in place that you just can't get over the hump. If you remember, the best chance Anthony Davis had in New Orleans to win, he had Rajon Rondo, he had Drew Holiday. I believe DeMarcus Cousins that got hurt that season, but him and D Cousins was like the best big man duo in the league at that time. They was killing everybody. The problem was you ran against a team like Golden State because in the first round they swept Portland. They ran against a team like Golden State. So it's like the trajectory is like they reached their peak. You know what I'm saying? So like they kind of fizzled out with a guy like Damian Lillard. They weren't able to get over the top talent. And respectfully, I don't think Dame can be the best player on the championship team. Small guard, he's very explosive. But when you go against like a bigger lineup, like what are you gonna do against like the Nuggets and like he's with Milwaukee? Like what type of trouble is that gonna cause? From a defensive standpoint, because right now they're having very huge defensive issues right now in Milwaukee, especially from the perimeter position. In Portland, when he was with the Trailblazers, he had the best chance he had to win. It was like him. It was like CJ McCollum. I remember they made the Western Conference Finals, but they lost to Golden State. So it's like you get these very small windows when you're a small market team. You have to capitalize on that. You don't always get this chance, but it may be a team out there that just has your number or a team that's just better than you, and that's just how it goes, to be honest. But with Anthony Edwards, what I want to bring up, let's do this. So his biggest jump in points thus far is from year 3 to year 4. That's 24 points to 28 points. It's kind of dramatic. Now the way he's going, I mean, it's not too dramatic, but I feel like I don't want to downplay his FIBA summer. I think that's very vital in a player's development. You playing against the best players in amongst your peers. That's your age group. All those guys out there, you dominate amongst your age group, and you dominate the competition that's overseas. Like he's one of the best young players in the game. As far as like best players under like 24 years old, he gotta be like number one. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like what a player can be, his trajectory. We haven't seen something like this in a long time. If my predictions are correct, by next season, he'll probably be averaging 29, 30 points a game easily. And this is the first time they won back-to-back 40 wins in seasons since the early 2000s. Right now, he's averaging 36% on 6.8 attempts from three. High flying, franchise altering talent. Now, what's kind of similar to him and Garnett is like you want to surround him with like older veterans. Even though KG was in his prime around the time Sam Cassell got there, but it's like you want a veteran guard running the team. So it's like you bring in Mike Conley, you got the rim protector and Michael Olowokandi. But now you have it in Rudy Gobert as far as AE. Some similarities there, but the thing is, Karl-Anthony Towns that's your number 2. The thing about Karl-Anthony Towns is, to be honest with you, I don't know if he'll be on this team within 1 or 2 more years. If we're really being honest, I don't know. But I wanna be fair to Minnesota because it's like we got our guy, we got our cornerstone. A lot of teams have the cornerstone, but look at Zion. Zion just got drafted in 2018. It was already rumors of him getting traded like within the past year. Now, I'm not saying those came directly from New Orleans Pelicans front office. I'm not saying where it came from, but it's just the possibility of him getting traded is lets you know something is going on. Whether it was his off the court issues, whether it's him not staying healthy, doesn't matter. But the issues still remain. The concerns still remain. But with Ant-Man, it's like that's the cornerstone. So now we got to really like surround him with the necessary pieces. You got an older point guard. Mike Conley won't be in the league too much longer. Rudy Gobert is actually playing decent basketball. The Minnesota Timberwolves are actually 7-2 at this point. It's some winning basketball, some things going on. Anthony Edwards See, this is the thing. Like, once you get a talent like this, they're going to have a good season. Like, they going to push 50 wins in the Western Conference. I don't know if it'll be this year. They have a chance to. It's very early, so I don't want to overreact to anything. But once you get talent like this, like, they're going to have to win at some point. Can Anthony Edwards be the best player on the championship team? I believe he can. The praise he gets is he gets a lot of praise. I've seen some things. He's the next MJ. He's the next this. He's the next that. I'm not saying I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on that, but I'm open for any conversation that's there to be had. If we're being honest, as far as the talent around this team, can they beat the Denver Nuggets in the playoff series? To be honest with you, the story goes that was the team that gave Denver the biggest challenge because guys like Karl-Anthony Towns, well, not Karl-Anthony Towns, but like you probably could have included him because it's like a lengthy lineup, like him, AE, you got Carl, you got Rudy Gobert, like it's pretty tall team, and I feel like it's a good challenge. You got a very important guard, Mike Conley. I feel like it's a decent challenge for sure, but can they beat the Kings? I don't know. Can they beat the Mavericks? I don't know. I don't think so. It's possible, with because the Mavericks still have some defensive issues. Even though we're playing more aggressive on defense, I feel like we have room to grow. But I don't know at this point. I can't really say. Can Minnesota beat the Warriors? I don't know. Probably not. So with them, it's gonna be tough because one of the things is a lot of the teams that's competing now in the Western Conference, they're not going anywhere. Like the Denver Nuggets, that core is pretty. They right in their prime. They right in the middle or the beginning of their prime. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they're on the way up. They have some good trajectory. The Sacramento Kings, they still have the continuity. They still have a lot of the quarter. So they still on the way up. The Thunder, they coming. The Pelicans, that's an interesting franchise. If they can stay healthy, I feel like they'll be competitive too. The Mavericks, they'll be competitive. Our core is pretty young. So with that being said, like, what do y'all think? Give me some feedback on that because it's like I don't really know if they're on this imaginary clock with Anthony Edwards. I don't. I would hope not because it's these small market teams. They have to have superstars. And shout out to B Mill because he was the one that pointed it out to me. Like it's like all these small. It's the farm system. It's broken because it's like all of these players. It's like you get drafted by these small market teams and then off they go. I remember, I think it was shout out to Cash, my big bro, Cole's Cash. I think it was him. They was making a joke that Paolo got drafted by the Magic. He'll be on the Lakers in 5 years because Shaq got drafted by Orlando. He went to the Lakers. Dwight Howard got drafted by Orlando. He went to the Lakers. So Paolo got drafted by the Magic, and it was just a running joke. But like we need the farm system. We need to have a system to where like we could really get competitive. And I think with the new collective bargaining agreement, it's gonna make it a lot hard for these super teams to come and play. I know we still like a year or two away from these rules to really kick in, but it's gonna be interesting to see. But that's just my thoughts, man, on Anthony Edwards, man, in the Minnesota Timberwolves. I just want to know if they was on like this imaginary clock with him. That's really what I wanted to know. Like I said, I titled this the Anthony Edwards conversation, man. Give me some feedback. Let me. It's the sideline story. Shout out to Mario. Shout out to Cash. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Rod. Everybody that's been on so far. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out my Kinfo Mike Al, man. Shout out to Craig. Shout out to the Wave Game, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to James for the record, man. We out. Peace.